The highly anticipated It Chapter 2 was released today. Well, at least it was released today for me. It seems like every freaking person I talk to is like, oh, I got to see it 2 days ago. I got to see it 2 weeks ago. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, I just had to wait like every other asshole, so cool. But here we are. I got to see it in an IMAX showing. And, you know, the IMAX thing, at least the screen I saw it in, not all that impressive. I didn't really see any difference, so I didn't pay any extra though because I have AMC A-list, so that didn't matter. But there was a 5 o'clock showing, and I went to the 7 because I was like, oh, it'll be IMAX. It's gonna be so cool. Honestly, I feel like it could have been the same damn thing. So that was kind of a waste. I should have saw it 2 hours before that. All right, so did this one live up to the expectations? Well, that's difficult because people's expectations on a sequel are blown out of proportion as it is. But this is an interesting sequel because this is a sequel where all the kids who were introduced in the first one that we love, you know, Finn Wolfhard and Sophia Lillis and all these characters, they don't really return for this one. Yes, they're in a couple little scenes here and there, but for the most part, all of their characters have been replaced by new actors that are now 27 years older. And while some of them are very familiar faces, like a James McAvoy or Jessica Chastain or Bill Hader, it's still replacing characters. And one thing that's always difficult with a franchise is when they replace an actor. But this is, of course, how it had to be. Stephen King's story is them coming back 27 years later. So it's not like they could have just done this story again with the kids. But they do try to incorporate the kids as much as they can. And I liked the way they transitioned in certain sequences from them back and forth. And I will say that I personally really enjoyed the shit out of this. I thought this was exactly what it should have been and exactly what people should be expecting because it very much is in line with the first one. It feels absolutely like a sequel. It feels like the same flavor, the same atmosphere, the same feeling. It's just, you know, a continuation of the story that we saw before. So I listened to a few people coming out of it like I always do just to kind of get a general consensus from the audience I actually watched it with, because an audience can actually have an effect on your viewing. You know, if you're in the crowd with a bunch of people who aren't laughing at jokes or if they're not screaming at stuff, it can actually affect your feelings. So I wanted to get the, you know, just kind of the feeling in the air. And it was mixed, much like I'm seeing online. The guy that was sitting next to me was like, oh my God, I was horribly disappointed. Weren't you guys? He was like, you know, kind of like hitting his friends, like, weren't you disappointed too? Weren't you disappointed too? It was funny. I was like, Jesus Christ, man, you need that much to be backed up on your opinion? It's like, it's your opinion, so it's okay. And then there was another few people I listened to, and they were like, I loved it. I thought it was fantastic, you know, whatever. So with any sequel this high profile, and as much of a sensation as the first one was. I mean, it made over $700 million, and it was really loved by a lot of people. There were people who thought it was an overbloated CGI mess, this and that. Now, if you didn't care for the CGI in the first one, you're going to have the same issue here. The same amount, if not a little bit more, because it's almost 30 minutes long or 45 minutes long. It's almost a 3-hour film. And I think the first one was like early twos, like 210, 220. I can't remember what that was, but this one's almost 3 hours. It's like 250. And the runtime, I think, might be, you know, something that people are hesitant about. I will say this about the runtime. While it does not feel like a short 3 hours, you know, those films you go to, they're 3 hours long and you're like, that flew by. This does not fly by. That being said, I was never bored. I was always invested. I was always waiting for the next sequence. Now, as far as the replacements here for the Losers Club, I thought everyone was perfectly casted. In fact, there's a lot of other casting as well of other characters that come. Now, as someone who has read the book and is a big Stephen King fan, I will say that they touched upon a bunch of things in the book that I was not expecting, and I was very happy to see. And then there were things that were not included that I personally would have liked to explore. But in a 3-hour movie, I feel like they're always pushing the story forward. I never felt like there was filler. I never felt like they were missing out on things. There is a reported like 30-minute longer cut that's going to be released exclusively to like Blu-ray or something. So I'm hoping that that rumor is true. I hope that we can get the much, much long promised director's cut of the first one that I've been holding out. I still don't own the first one because they never did release it like they said they would. I think that the best way that they can possibly do that is to just release 1 and 2 in a complete collection with both director's cuts. Just give us the Blu-ray. That'll be the one I buy. That's that. But yeah, the runtime, I don't feel like the runtime ever felt over long. Of course, if you're not enjoying the movie, any movie is going to start feeling over long. But because I was so invested, it went by. It was always engaging. I was always in it. But as I said, I did feel the runtime, but not an overwhelming like, oh God, will this ever end? But yeah, I as far as standouts, I think everybody's obvious standout's going to be Bill Hader as Richard Tozier, but I feel like that's the most obvious one. It's charismatically the best character to play. It's the one that's getting the all the best jokes and whatnot, and Bill Hader is like the perfect person to take up Finn Wolfhard's character there. So that's a granted. As far as other people, I really liked McAvoy and Chastain in their roles. Everyone was good though. Everyone was just perfectly casted. I was really, really impressed with the casting here. As I kind of talked about this a little bit, but fans of the book, I think you're going to mostly be happy, and I will still hold out hope that there's a few things that will be touched upon in a director's cut if we ever do get it. But overall, I'm satisfied as a Stephen King fan, as a fan of the first film. But this is exactly what I expected it to be. I mean, I watched this thinking, are there really people who... as I said, I think this is just going to be an expectation thing. People blow up sequels way out of proportion with their expectations, and they expect something that is not possible. And so they let themselves down. But tonally, it's almost identical to the first one. I don't like doing like, which one did you like better? I mean, I guess if I had to pick one, I prefer the kids' story in the book. I like the kids in the movie, so I think I just would kind of gravitate towards that. I also wanted to touch upon the transitions in this. I was really, really into them throughout. There's a lot of awesome transitions from one scene to the next, and how they kind of bleed over into each other, quite literally in some instances. And I just love those really clever, unique transitions that they have. And production value is out of control, as expected. With a movie that made $700 million, they better have thrown a decent amount of money at this one. As far as Bill's Pennywise in this version, it's just this. I mean, I don't want to say it's the same, but it's that same level. I feel like he brings it as much as the first. I think I prefer the monsters in this one. I might get some shit from people on that, but I'm going to get shit regardless, because there are going to be people who hate this. Any movie has detractors. That always happens, especially high-profile sequels, as I said. But I really liked a lot of the creatures in this. A lot of imaginative things. Really dark shit, too. That's another thing with this movie. It went really dark in places. And a lot of films would shy away from some of that stuff. And they did it in the first film in one place, and they do it a few times here. And I was surprised to see it on the big screen. And there were some people, because there's an opening sequence that's actually pretty brutal. And there was a woman sitting kind of 2 rows over from me. Her boyfriend or her husband, whoever this guy was, he must have left the theater like 5 times. I don't know what the hell that guy was doing. I don't know if his wife dragged him there, his girlfriend, whatever. And they even moved away from me. They were sitting next to me, and they moved one over, and I was like, what the fuck? Okay, whatever. That's fine. You need some room. But she was putting her eyes, she's like, oh my god, like, because yeah, it's a fairly brutal sequence. The comedy in it is really, really good. I don't know if I laughed as much as I did in the first one, just because Finn Wolfhard was so freaking funny in the first one. I would probably say I laughed a little more there, but man, overall, I thought this was a fantastic follow-up. It is really, really damn consistent with the first one, and hearing people who are not happy with it doesn't surprise me. I think that hopefully, if they did like the first one, I really hope that they'll settle their expectations down a little bit, now having known what they're going to get out of it, and go into it with a more realistic expectation and find a lot of enjoyment in a second watch, because this is a great sequel. I mean, it just is. If you like the first one, I just don't see how you could dislike this one all that much. It's very similar. And not like, oh, it's just the same beats over and over and over again. Like, it's a good continuation with the same atmospheric tone to it. So I was very happy, and I was very much looking forward to this one. As I said, there was a couple little things from the book that I was like, oh, I wish I could have got that. But man, there was some stuff in there from the book that I was like, oh wow, I actually got that. How cool. But yeah, let me know what you guys think when you see it. And I will be looking forward to, I think it's just going to be mixed. I think it's just going to be like a 50-50, 75-25. I don't think it'll be like a hardcore, dichotomy or anything, but I think it'll be split a decent amount. So we'll see. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hope everyone loves it. Of course, I always want everyone to love every movie they walk into. Otherwise, they're wasting their time, and what good is that? All right, guys, let me know what you think, and I'll see you soon. Adios.